Hi, everyone. Well, today is Valentine's Day, as you can tell by my wearing red and my little heart earrings. So I do want to wish you a very happy Valentine's Day, and I hope it takes on a great meaning of what love is for you, uh, and for those you love as well. So here we are, and I decided today I have to do an act of love rather than expecting stuff being given to me. So I'm going to take a little trip to the memory care place where my sister is and spend a little couple of hours with her on this Valentine's Day. That'll make me feel, well, it's not a happy place to go to, but at least I'll feel good to be with her. So let me talk about yesterday's lesson. And yesterday's lesson had to do with basically forgiveness. That's what this Sunday's gospel is about. And as we see going through this time, ordinary time until Lent, it was still in the sermon, or still on the mountain with Jesus with the sermon. And he's calling us to do more, calling us to really roll in the deep, as Adele would say, and get deeper into what love really is and what we're supposed to be as disciples. And it's not superficial. It really is deep, and that's what Jesus calls us to. And his message is there. And for some, it's very difficult. Well, I think we all have our issues with it at times, how difficult it can be to be this disciple. But at the end of the day, we know that's what is the best to do. So with us, with this in mind, first of all, let me tell you about the children. So Justin and Sage were kind of, they were very tired, and they were doodling. And I said, I'm not happy with this. I told them, I said, it's going to happen. I said, the way things going today. And they were like, why? I said, because you're all over the place. You are paying attention, but not fully. You might as well just be on a phone, kind of thing. And I said, like that. And they were like, well, I said, what are you so tired from? And then it dawned on me, they watched the Super Bowl the night before. So I guess the score was so close, there's no way you were going to get these kids into bed. So you're going to have days, this is my point of telling you this, where they're not going to have their full attention, or something is bothering them, or I know Sage had a stomach virus over the weekend, so that didn't add to it at all. But they were there, and as we got to talking about it, as they got more into it, it kind of got a little bit better. They were more attentive. So of course, we reviewed the week before because we didn't get together for their birthday, and we did that. And talking about the law, that was this past Sunday's gospel. I know what is the law of God, and we got into that, and they did their lesson, and they did their words for the week, and that was forgiveness. And then we really got into it, because what does that mean? Jesus asks an awful lot from us, I think. I mean, in our we're so humanly limited in thinking about this, because it's almost not, a human reaction. So if someone slaps you on the cheek, your human reaction would be to slap them back and not give them the other one. So trying to get this point across to children can be really interesting, because they were very honest. And they said, Grandma, we want to have retaliation. I said, well, yeah, where'd you learn that word from? But they said, no, it's like to get back at somebody for what they did. I said, but that's not what Jesus is telling us. So they grappled with it. I mean, I felt them really grappling, and which is good. But what about if this happened? Well, I said, has any of this ever happened to you, where someone's been that mean? Well, not really, but I have a lot of friends who would stand up with me. And so I wouldn't be alone. I said, well, that's good, but someday that may not be. You may have to stand alone sometimes. So what do you do when you have to make these kinds of decisions? And how do you react to people who are being mean to you? And of course, they said, well, we would pray. I said, that's the right answer. And that's what you have to do. We all have to pray with this kind of stuff. It's not easy to be kind, to love our enemies, whoever that might be, to help us, not seek revenge. We have to be in a state of prayer in order to do that, because it's almost, I would say at times it could seem like it's humanly impossible. So it has to be, if it's humanly impossible, it has to be spiritually doable. So, we have to go on to another level with this. And because as we know, all the years when these things have happened to us, it kind of sits in the pit of your stomach, and we don't want that either. So they kind of got that. Um, and then they got into things with school. I said, well, do you have enemies at school? I mean, I wouldn't want to call them enemies, but do you have issues? And they got into bullying. And it's so interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine Saturday night who was telling me the grandson was being bullied, and it was not a nice or pretty thing. And it's amazing what kids go through, or what some of them are dealing with, and what the parents are dealing with. It's very, very difficult. And as my grandchildren said, you just want to get back. You want to punch them. You want to, do something. I said, but is that going to really work? I mean, are they going to continue this kind of behavior? And where would you go if it happened to you? And I said to them, have you ever been bullied? And they said, well, maybe, kind of, sort of. Like, what does that mean? I think, I don't think it was a question of bullying as much as the question of being bossed or being bossy. There's a little difference there, when their children's more like, well, depending on the situation and the child. And I said, yeah, and that can be very aggravating when someone's bossy. Or, so what are you going to do? Either you talk to them, which is probably the best thing to do, and not only talk to them, but pray for them, pray for your relationship if it's that important to you. So we really got into a lot of discussion on that, and they were very open, and that's when they really perked up, because I think it's they see it, and like I said, thank goodness, I'm glad at this point in their lives they're not really been a victim of, but it certainly can happen, and it might be happening. They're surrounded by good friends and things, but hey, they're only in fifth grade. I mean, who knows what tomorrow will bring? So they have to kind of get those tools. But again, when Jesus comes in with this gospel, it almost doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the situation that we're used to, because we're used to fighting back, or we're, like I said, retaliation. So I think they had, at least I felt we were planting some seeds for if anything comes down the road later on, and they can see, and we can always go back to that gospel and see, the courage that it takes. Sometimes it just takes courage, and we have to pray for that, to do what would be the right thing, and think of the outcomes and things like that when these situations arrive. Talked about forgiveness, and I mentioned to them the parish will be having a ceremony of reconciliation, that they should be there. They're like, yeah, we're going to do that, and that Ash Wednesday is coming next week. So to start thinking about Lenten, of course, what am I going to give up? And I said, well, we'll discuss this later on. It's not, what are you going to do? Not so much give up something, but we'll discuss that as time comes. What I did have them do at the end of the lesson, I had them cut up 40 little pieces of paper each, representing the 40 days of Lent. And every night, or every day, they are to write on a piece of paper something either they need forgiveness of, or they didn't act in the right way, or someone didn't act towards them in the right way. Hold them up, keep them separate. And on right before the end of Lent, we will do something. We'll have some kind of a ceremonial ritual of either burning them, or doing something to let them know that God is a God of forgiveness, and that we too have to be like that as well. So they were fine with that. They cut their papers, and they're all set. And the great thing about this, I can text them, and say, how you doing with those papers? You're writing something every night. Again, it's almost like an examination of their conscience, and what happened, reveal the day. Where can I do better? Or this is what's happening to me. But let's see at the end of the day what grandma has in mind, because I didn't tell them what we're going to do with it at the end. So we had a great closing song too last night, and it was about Matthew West is the singer, and whenever we do music, I make sure there's always the lyrics are involved, so they're old enough to read them, and that always resonates with them. So that was a good thing. So we prayed together, and once I got beyond their post Super Bowl exhaustion, whatever you want to call it, it turned out to be a nice lesson, always being with them. So that was yesterday. And I will not be doing this next week, because I don't know about you, but here in New Jersey, in the east part of the country, it's a week away. It's President's Week, so they get some kind of a winter break. So I believe they're going away. So I won't be doing a lesson with them, although they have their papers and they're going to be responsible to do that. And we'll review it when they get back. So that's it. And I wish you the rest of the day a very happy Valentine's Day. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you. Bye-bye.